Math 76, lesson 103. Cross products, using cross products to complete proportions. This is a lesson that I like to call cross multiplication. It's also something that the Greeks would have called the means equaling the product of the extremes. So this is actually a really old concept. The math we're about to learn now dates all the way back to, I want to say maybe the 300th or 400th century BCE, or BC, sorry. And it looks like this. Okay, so this is why I call it cross multiplication, and I'll do an example over here. And we'll display it with some really simple fractions. So first I'll explain the rule so we can see how it works, and then after that we'll solve some practice problems. So let's start with a proportion, and we should remember a proportion is two equal fractions. I'll take a simple one like 1/2 is equal to 3/6, right? These fractions are equal, and they're written in equation form, so this is a proportion. So what we mean by cross multiplication is we can multiply diagonally across the fraction to rewrite the equation. So the way this works is I do the first multiplication, I'll go top left down to bottom right. I do 1 times 6. That answer is, well, 6. After that, I write my equal sign, okay? And then I'm going to do the opposite diagonal multiplication, okay? And this is not to be confused with cross canceling, okay? So then I multiply diagonally this way, 2 times 3. That also gives me 6, which is, it proves that 6 times 6 equals 6, right? Or if I were to write it roughly, the way your book is showing it, is before I simplified that, it would be 1 times 6 is equal to 2 times 3, right? Now, this is useful for us because this will help us find proportions that are missing numbers that are a little bit more difficult than the ones we're used to solving. So traditionally, the way that we would solve these proportions is we would have something like, let's see here, we'd have something like 3/5 is equal to 9 over blank, right? And we would have to think in our brains, okay, well, 3 times 3 is 9, so 5 times 3 equals 15. I found the missing number. Well, that's an ugly 15. Let's make this look more neater, more professional. There we go. There's a good 15. So normally that's how I would solve that. But what if I have a much more difficult problem? What if they want me to find out, let's see here, what if they want to know how many times 3/5 would work with, sorry, I gotta find a good fraction. Nope, let's not use 3/5. Let me get a better example. I found one. Okay, so let's say we have to figure out how many times 4/6, or well, what, not how many times, but we have to solve the proportion 4/6, or 4 is to 6, as 10 is to what number? What number could this be? Well, using the old method, I would just say, oh, okay, well, 4 times what number equals 10? Oh, there is no number. There's no whole number that I can multiply 4 by to get 10, because 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. I don't get 10. So this is where we would use cross multiplication or cross products. Okay. So what I do now is I'm going to replace the question mark with the letter X, and I'm going to cross multiply. 6 times 10 gives me 60. Then I put the equal sign. I multiply this way. 4 times X gives me 4X. Now, this should make us happy because we've seen these problems before and we've solved them before. This is easy. This is just saying 4 times what number equals 60, and I solved this by using division. So let's go ahead and divide both sides with number 4. Okay, 60 into 4. I could try to reduce this, or I could just write a traditional division algorithm. 4 goes into 6 one time. 4 goes into 25 times 15. So X is equal to 15, right? So that's how cross multiplication is useful. It helps us solve proportions for missing numbers that are not as easy to figure out as something like 3/5 over 9/15. Okay, so it helps us solve much more difficult proportions. Let's see here. I believe that's it for this lesson. How long is this video? 4.5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So that's all there is for this lesson. Remember, cross multiplication rewrites the equation, and then you can solve it. Also, don't confuse it with cross canceling. If you have any questions, let me know on the school website, and I will see you in class.